Three, two, one, and we are live. What's going on? Drop it, family. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing with y'all the two skill sets you need to master to actually put obesity behind you for good. And don't worry, they're not how to just be more motivated or how to do it even when you're not feeling disciplined or how to log things. In MyFitnessPal, it's much deeper than that. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you what those two things are. You're going to leave with actionable steps that you can take right when the episode is over so that you can feel good, not just about losing weight, because all of you listening to this have already lost weight at some point in your life before, the same way that I did, but actually feel good about putting obesity behind you forever. If you're new here, hi, I'm Nick. I'm your sustainable weight loss coach. I lost 110 pounds in 2019 after a full lifetime of losing and gaining back weight on every single diet known to humankind and every single person on planet Earth. I make this podcast for people that are fed the fuck up with the way that things are, for people that are ready to step into truly saving their own life by putting obesity behind them for good. So if that's you, you're going to find this extremely helpful, and welcome to the podcast. The first skill set you need to develop to actually put obesity behind you forever is the power of visualization. What that means is you need to be able to visualize the outcome, not just in terms of what is it going to look like, but what is it going to feel like. I'm not talking about looking at yourself in the mirror and trying to imagine what you're going to look like when you're skinny. I'm talking about closing your eyes and taking a breath and being able to feel what it would be like to not be consumed by your own obesity anymore. And that's really difficult to do when you're in the position that I was in, where we're currently spending 99% of our time wishing that we weren't fat, seeing everything through the lens of our own obesity, the insecurity that we feel in our body, the insecurity that we feel around other people and obsessing about what they think about us, not feeling loved, not feeling worthy, counting all of our calories, feeling like this is a cheat meal. And should I be logging this? I don't know. I'll just restart tomorrow, and then not having any trust in ourselves because we've literally said that over 1,000 times. So that's such an all-consuming thing. We spend so long wishing that things were different, but we don't really spend any time connecting with what life is going to be like when things are actually different. So the last time that I lost weight in 2019, I started at 274 pounds, and I started getting really into visualizing. So I would go and I would step on the scale, and I'd be, I'm down to 255, so I'm down, 19 pounds. And I would close my eyes and go, okay, one day I'm going to get on this scale and it's going to say 199. And I would just take a big breath and I would think, what is it going to feel like when I see 199 on that scale? And I would feel this lightness to me. I'd go, wow, that feels great. I can actually feel a little bit of that right now. And by feeling that right now, there's a lightness in my chest. There's almost like a tingle in my fingers. Like my body feels a lot lighter when I just connect with what it's going to be like to see that number on the scale. And by feeling that in my body and feeling the lightness, it actually, you can't really not smile when you let yourself really sit with what that is going to not just look like, but feel like mentally and physically for you. And that puts you into the frequency of somebody that has already done it. So this is what manifestation is, right? It's the idea of, if I had already achieved the thing, how would I act? If I had already accomplished the thing, what would I be? How would I be moving? How would I be smiling? How would I be talking? What actions would I be taking? When you're so connected to what it would be like after achieving the thing, it's almost impossible to not live like that person right now. And that's why the power of visualization is so important. I took this really far on my own journey where, after I had lost weight for the last time, I had this fear of gaining the weight back again. Like, who's been there, right? We all have. And to not gain the weight back, I went, okay, I want to get into ultra marathon running. And I was really inspired by these people that were running longer than marathon distances. And I had never ran a mile before in my life. This was 2020 now, early 2020, like right before COVID had started. So my goal, before I had ever ran a mile, I set a goal to be the third person in history to lose 100 pounds, which I'd already done, and run a 100-mile ultramarathon in less than 30 hours. Now, that's a pretty lofty goal for someone that has never ran a single mile ever. People train their whole lives to run those distances. And I went, okay, I think in a couple years, I can really make this happen. And I would, every time that I was in the car, I would turn the car on. I would turn on some music that felt really nostalgic or music that just made me smile. We all have different music that resonates with us the most, but whatever it might be for you. And I would stop on the side of the road or just while I was driving. I'd take a big breath. If I was stopped, I'd close my eyes and I would picture myself at the finish line of a 100-mile race with my arms out sideways, big smile on my face and my middle fingers up in the air. And I would picture that picture of me on top of a fireplace that says 100-mile finisher, like on the banner, at the finish line, right next to a picture of me when I was fat as fuck. And I could see, God, it gives me chills even saying that. I could see that so clearly. I could put myself at that finish line before I had ever even ran a single mile. I was at the finish line of running a 100-mile race before I had ever ran a single mile in my entire life. And I had already just lost weight, right? So weight loss wasn't the issue anymore. But now it became like, how do I battle the fear of not gaining it back, which was a new thing for me at the time. And I just started taking this approach into everything. To end that story, I'm going on running 5 half marathons, 2 marathons, and a 50K. And then 3 years after that, I was about a year out from running a 100-mile race. This would have been 2022. And got diagnosed with a heart issue that I had had my whole life, an electrical issue, and had to get heart surgery. So that was the end of my running career. And that's what led to me actually launching this podcast and sharing the content of my whole journey that I had documented back in 2019. Had I not had that heart surgery, we would have never been on this show. So thank God for that, because I absolutely love where I'm at. But letting go of all of that was tough because I had spent so long living in the visual of it. And same thing applied to launching this show. So I launched a podcast 100-something episodes ago that nobody was listening to. And for me to put myself at, what is it going to be like to get 100 episodes into a show when I don't even own a microphone? Like, I had mastered this power of visualization through weight loss. I spent so long connecting with what it's going to be like that it's almost as if I'm living the life of somebody that's already accomplished things. So there's not really that much of a question of sustainability. It's not really a question of how am I going to achieve it, because it feels like I already have. And again, that's what manifestation is. So how can you take this into your weight loss journey? Well, the first thing you need to do is get clear on, before we get into that, this applies to everything. So this is what really bothers me about when people say that weight loss didn't make them happy. I'm like, you missed the whole point. The framing of this is wrong. Weight loss doesn't make you happy. Weight loss is the path to self-improvement that helps you gain the awareness of how to live the life you actually want. And that will make you happy should you take that approach. So losing weight is an opportunity for you to master the power of visualization. And in mastering the power of visualization, you'll find that you can actually accomplish anything that you want in life, financially, relationally, socially, impact, legacy-wise, like whatever it is that you want, you can actually do. And words like reasonable and let's be realistic, they just kind of start going out the window because you're like, well, I already did something that was extremely unrealistic, which was put obesity behind me for good, because so few people statistically actually do that. So the question isn't, does weight loss make you happy? The question is, when you get out of the way, or when you put obesity behind you for good, all that energy that you're putting into wishing that things were different, what would you put that towards? And can you see that in your mind's eye? And can you take a breath and feel that in your body and imagine that it had already happened, and then start taking the action of somebody that already did it? And that will make you happy. But losing weight won't necessarily make you happy. That level of awareness and belief in yourself will, and you can achieve that through weight loss should you adopt that frame. And you should. You should adopt that frame. Please adopt that frame, because the world is ready to witness you in your greatness. You deserve it. We deserve to see you in it. You've been struggling with this for your entire life, and enough is enough. Let's put it behind you right now on this show. Let's let this be the show where we get off of this podcast and we sit with actually practicing visualizing what it would be like to live the life we really want and feel it. So how does this apply to your weight loss journey? And here's how you can take this with you right after this episode. When this episode is over, I want you to think about what your life would look like if you were not fat. So here are some questions to ask yourself right now, and write these down. Pull out a pen and a paper or write it down on your phone. If I was not spending so much mental energy wishing that I wasn't fat, feeling guilt from eating quote unquote cheat meals, I'm throwing up air quotes for those of you that are not watching this on YouTube. If I did not feel the same insecurity in my body, if I looked in the mirror and felt more love for myself as a default way of thinking, not as a practice of how do I love myself, but it was more of a default way of thinking, what would be different about my life specifically? How would you walk? How would you move? How would you talk? How would you smile? Where would you live? How would your husband or wife address you differently or Would you have a husband or wife if you don't have one right now? How would your kids respond differently to you? Or would you be in a better position to have kids if you don't have them right now? What would your financial situation be like? How would that be different? What would you be doing that you're not doing right now? Canoeing, kayaking, hiking, skydiving, traveling the world, all the things that you're waiting to do until you hit your weight loss goal. What are those things? Like, put those down on a piece of paper and sit with what it would actually be like to do those things. And once you do that, you're going to close your eyes and just take a big breath. Put your hand on your chest if you'd like. And imagine that you are having those experiences right now through your own eyes. So not that you're watching yourself, but you are actually doing those things right now. One of them that I was really connected to when I was fat as fuck was this idea of walking. This was how simple it was for me. Walking through a park, holding hands with a beautiful woman. I kind of look over at her and I smile and she smiles back at me. And I'm walking around and there's hundreds of people all over the place, but I'm not really concerned with what other people are thinking about me or skinny privilege, or do they think I'm fat, or am I the fattest person here? That's a big one too. I'm always the fattest person everywhere that I go. And it's like, I was so always thinking when I was fat that everybody could see me, but nobody could see me at the same time. It was this weird phenomenon of like, I'm so visible, but invisible and shrunken down. And I know a lot of you relate to that. I pictured that not being real, and walking. It was 90 something degrees outside and the sun's on my skin, but I'm not sweating through my shirt. I'm not taking big breaths. I'm not uncomfortable in the heat or the humidity. I don't need to sit down or take a break. I'm not thinking like, okay, where are we going to sit? Where can I get some water? I'm just there and present. Like fully present. And as we're walking, there's this little ice cream shop. But before we get to the ice cream shop, this cute dog comes by and I bend over and go, wow, cute dog. But when I bend over, I don't have to go take a big breath and hold my breath because my stomach isn't getting caught in my belt or up against my knees in my case. And I'm able to breathe when I tie my shoes and pet this dog at the same time. And I pet the dog and stand up, and then we go into the ice cream shop and we both get our own scoop, single scoop in a bowl without a cone of our favorite ice cream with no toppings. And we eat it while we're walking, and then we throw it away, and there's no guilt and there's no shame tied to it at all. Like, really sit with this, right? There's no guilt and there's no shame tied to it in any way at all. I don't feel bad for eating it. I don't care how many calories were in the ice cream. I don't know what I weigh. I haven't weighed myself in a year or more. And I'm just walking. We throw the ice cream away. I go home. We eat a phenomenal dinner at home that we cooked together, or she cooked, or I cooked, or whatever. And then we have a beautiful night of connective intimacy and sex. And I'm buck naked in the living room. Stay with me on this. I'm buck naked in the living room with the lights on in front of this woman that I love, and not concerned about what she's thinking about my body because I have full confidence in who I am and what I've achieved for myself. And I'm to the point where my loose skin isn't something that I'm trying to hide. It's just out. And for those of you that aren't watching, it's out right now on the video. It's just out, and it represents how far that I've come and the things that I've overcome in my life. And it actually is a point of connection with me and this woman because she believes in my ability to show up because I've been showing up for myself for so long. And when we're having sex, I don't have to just sit there on the bottom and be concerned about it ending super quick, or me not being able to maintain an erection because my testosterone levels are so low, or me being so in my head wondering if this and that. I'm actually just fully there and present. And that's one of the biggest things with losing weight. It's not about, does losing weight make you happy? It's losing weight gives you the awareness of where you're not being present in your own life because you clear up so much mental headspace. And you can choose to be a lot more present with yourself and with other people, which makes other people feel a lot safer and want to be around you more. And then people call that skinny privilege, but that's not actually typically the case. Sometimes it is because some people hate fat people because some people just suck, but that's typically not the case for most people. Sit with that visualization, and you can go back and rewind that and close your eyes and put yourself in that scenario. Unless you're if you're a woman, 2/3 of you listening to this are women over 50. So you won't want to go through that exact same one, but find that for yourself and take a breath with your eyes closed and ask yourself, what would it feel like for that to be real? And see if you can get to the point where like your fingers almost tingle. See if you can get to the point where you have to smile because you're actually there. Can you actually put yourself there? Can you put yourself at the finish line of that race before you'd ever ran a mile? Can you put yourself in the environment of getting a scoop of ice cream without feeling guilt and shame? And you might not be able to right now. That is a skill set. Some people are more naturally inclined and more naturally able to do that. Some people aren't. if that feels crazy, oh my God, I can't do that. Or Nick, why would I do that when I can just go keto? That would have been me listening to this. Why would I do all this mindset visualization shit when I can just go keto or do Weight Watchers again because that worked before? Like, what does worked mean? I think that's what it really comes down to. Your goal is not to lose weight. Nothing that you've done has worked before. Otherwise, you wouldn't be consuming weight loss content online, right? Worked means that you put the issue behind you forever. And that can sound a little bit brutal, but that's where we're at. And that's what leads us into the second most important skill set for you to develop, which is radical honesty. Radical honesty, meaning you have to tell yourself the truth and the 100% full truth. There is so much bullshit in the world. There is so much fluff in the world right now with social media, with people like, how do I show up to this? How do I, how am I going to act? There's so much fake shit. You cannot be fake with yourself because you need to develop self-trust. And you can't trust yourself if you don't tell yourself the full 100% truth of exactly where you're at. And that can sound really because we lie to ourselves all the time, right? I mean, I lied to myself so much when I was fat. I got to the point where I would say that I was going to restart my diet tomorrow. And I would say it, and I would not even believe myself. It's like it started out the first couple hundred times that I said that. People go, a couple hundred? Yeah. Like every single Monday, sometimes multiple times a week for like 7+ years. That's like 500 plus times at least. For those of you that are 50+ year old watching this that have been doing that your whole life, you're looking at thousands, 5 to 10,000 or more times where we've told ourselves that we're going to restart our diet and then didn't do it. So our self-trust, and sometimes I ask people that I work with a lot of the times, my clients go, do you trust yourself? And the default answer is, yes, I trust myself. But when you really actually start diving into what trust means, you'll find that most people that are really struggling with obesity don't have much self-trust. And that makes sense because it would be bizarre to have full self-trust after a full life of us telling ourselves the same lie over and over again and never actually taking the action. And that leads to us not feeling like enough, not feeling like we're worthy, feeling like we're not disciplined enough, we're not motivated enough, we're not good enough, unworthy of love, unworthy of respect from ourselves and others because we don't even trust ourselves. So the radical honesty here is to get clear on, do you trust yourself right now? The answer is, it's likely no. Do you have full, complete trust, not 99% trust, 100% trust? What that means is that when you say you're going to do something, you do it barring a crazy circumstance. Meaning if you say you're going to go on a walk and then you break your leg, you're not losing trust by not going on the walk. But if you say you're going to go on the walk and then you wake up the next morning and you're tired and you do not go on a walk, there's no way that you have 100% trust, right? So the first radical honesty question to ask ourselves is, do we have complete trust, yes or no? Most of the times it's going to be no. The second thing that we need to ask ourselves is, where are we at specifically? Specifically, where are we at? If you were to come in as your own best friend and watch everything that you're doing in your life from the time that you wake up to the time that you go to bed, where are you not in integrity with living like a healthy person? How much time are you scrolling on social media? What sort of conversations are you not having with your partner or your employer? What actions are you taking that are not helping? And what actions are you not taking that would be helping? How much time are you spending scrolling on Netflix? How much time are you spending watching shit on the internet that's making you feel like shit when you get off of it? How much money are you spending on DoorDash and Uber Eats? Like, you ever feel that? When I was fat, I would get DoorDash and Uber Eats all the time. And this was kind of the infancy of DoorDash. It was more Uber Eats at the time. And I would be in denial of how much money I was spending. But there were days I'd spend $45 a day for 20 days straight. It's $2,000 on delivery food, plus other food that I was eating. But I'm like, it's not, like that big of a deal. I don't like, and then I just go, man, you got to tell yourself the truth, because everyone's lying all the time, right? Everyone around me is, oh, you're just big boned. People are feeding me so much bullshit all the time that I'm just so used to bullshit. Radical truth, it cuts through everything. Everything. The thing that you are hiding from because it scares you, you're lying to yourself about it. It could even be your job. It could even be your relationship. When you start sitting with radical truth, some of the times the reason why people say that weight loss didn't make them happy is because when you lose weight sustainably, it clears up a lot of mental headspace. And when you have more mental headspace, you're much more aware of where you're not in integrity with other parts of your life. And for a lot of us, that could be a marriage that you've been in for 20 or 30 years. And I'm not saying leave your partner of 20 or 30 years. I'm saying that it's much easier to stay fat and be drowning and wishing that this part of your life was different and obsessed with this and food and calories than it is to address the things that you're using food to hide from without maybe having that awareness at the time. Because when you clear up the space, you can now see things from a totally different vantage point, and you start to go, well, what the fuck am I doing in this career? Holy shit, I had kids with the wrong person. Oh, sit with that. God damn it. Had I felt better, I think I would have done something different, but I would never say it. I would never even write it down, because if I journaled it, someone else might see it, and that would ruin everything for me. That's quite an extreme example, but there are a lot of you that are listening to this that are in very similar situations, and we're avoiding the radical truth by doing what we think that we should do. The radical honest truth is, and you have to get to the point where it's just real, you know, the radical honest truth is that if you do not lose weight sustainably, it's going to be one of the last things you think about when you die. And I know that's hard to hear because it's really hard to say. None of these things are a matter of if. They are all a matter of when. If you're in the position I was in where you're 50, 100 plus pounds overweight, you've been losing weight and gaining it back your whole life, you will pass from something related to your obesity. And we dance around that. And people don't say that online because that's not a fun thing to hear. But it's the actual truth. And then people say weight loss didn't make them happy. If extending your life doesn't make you happy, then fuck. Welcome to hell on earth. You're living in it right now. You're living in hell on earth right now. Wishing that things were different and then not taking the action of somebody that actually wishes that things were different because of all the guilt and shame and all the reasons that led to you being fat that we're not addressing because we're just changing the foods that we're eating and counting our calories, thinking that that's going to save us. To bring this back to power visualization, I used to visualize myself having a son and my son looking up at me, and I'm 350 pounds with my gut hanging out over my belt. And I would say, son, you can be anything you want in this world. And he'd look up at me and think, God, is this what you want? And he's like 5. He doesn't have the language to it, right? But he's going, I don't know if I really believe that, without really saying it. And I'm like driving a shitty car because I'm still working my corporate job that I didn't even like. Just kind of capped out with this like almost end of the cul-de-sac white picket fence lifestyle. And that's just fine. Everything's just like fine. And it's just fine. And I'm 55 and I'm on my, blood pressure medications. And like, that's fine, and just, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. And I'm married to a woman that I love. Like, I love her. We had kids together. I love her. But when I really sit with the truth, it's like, this isn't the relationship that I want the way that I wanted it. I'm not the leader in this relationship the way that in a perfect world, I would have liked to have been. And now it just feels like it's too late. And we've been kind of existing in these patterns for so long. We don't even have sex anymore. Very rarely, and that's uncomfortable, but I don't really like talking about that. So I'd rather just kind of keep that to myself. And I tell her, that I'm going to go keto and start really taking care of myself. And it feels good to say that. When I tell her that, it feels really good because she kind of has this little spark in her eye, like maybe he's really going to do it, but then I don't. And then we just kind of stop talking about it. And my son's there, I didn't really get him the mother. It's not that I didn't get him the mother he deserved. I didn't get him the relationship that he deserved to witness and to be grown in and to be led by. And I was so connected to that. It scared me so much. And the idea of me passing away from something that I could have controlled scared me so much. I used to have dreams about dying all the time. People say you can't die in your dreams. That is not the truth. I have died in my dreams so many times when I was fat. And that's because I was practicing visualizing things again and again and again. And it took over my entire psyche when I was sleeping. And that was fucking crazy. But it was a huge, huge motivator for me. And when I started just telling myself the truth and practicing visualizing what's going to happen if I don't change and what is possible if I do and how in control of my life I actually am. And I used to hold up both hands and I'd shake the left hand and I'd go, this is what life is going to be like in 5 years if I don't change. And I'd shake the right hand and I'd go, this is what life is going to be like in 5 years if I do change. Now, most people are going to end up, somewhere in the middle or towards the left a little bit. But there's actually a world where I'm just fully over here on the right. And that's going to come from me paying attention to the gravity of every single decision that I make. And me not letting myself off the hook. And me meeting myself with radical truth. The radical truth is I feel like shit. I'm afraid of dying from my own obesity. I'm so distracted. My financial situation is fucked up. Or for you, it might be something like this. Gosh, I've got enough money to live for a while. I have $130,000 in the bank, plus I have some in retirement. I've got $130K in investments, my own, some of the house, plus I've got money in retirement. My expenses are $5,000 per month, right? If this is, you really, really hear this through. I've got $130K and my expenses are $5K a month. My job drains me, but I go to work and I come home, I'm really stressed out. It makes it hard for me to prioritize my health because I'm so stressed out about my job. So it's like, okay, the radical truth is that you're working a job that you don't need to be working right now. In the job that you are working, you're saying is the number one thing that's causing you stress and in the way of you prioritizing your health. So the radical truth is that should you quit your job, but it's scary to do that, right? Because we're existing in this programming of thinking that we need to keep living these lives that we don't actually want to live. So then we don't take massive action. We just kind of think, well, like, maybe I can like gently lose weight. I'm gonna do like my gentle weight loss journey. It's like, maybe, but maybe you could take some massive action, leave the fucking job, go home and prioritize your health for 6 months, and then come into the job market a lighter, energetically lighter, and physically lighter person with way more confidence and make way more money in the long run anyway. But we don't want to bet on ourselves because that's scary because we feel like we've already bet on ourselves so many times before. And like, that's just, gosh, welcome to hell on earth. The beauty is that you get to choose where you're at. Or you get to choose who you are becoming. And you also get to choose how you show up right now. Sustainable weight loss it's not this thing that it's a journey, but there's a point in the beginning. You have to have enough of a fuck you attitude in the beginning to see some movement. When you look at the success of weight loss programs, gosh, I'm making this number up. I can't remember what it is when I saw it. But people need to see results in the first 2 weeks to stick to anything, especially weight loss programs. This idea that you're going to like lose 1/4 of a pound in the first week and then lose 1 pound in the second week and then gain 1/4 pound because, it was a rough weekend. Most people would never show up to week 4 in that situation. It's not everyone, but you need to see movement in the beginning, which requires some fuel and some flame and some power of visualization and some power of radical honesty. And you can practice both of those things right now, right when we get off of this episode, by getting clear on what your life would be like after you lost weight in the same way that I walk you through, taking a breath and letting yourself feel it with some music on. Your goal is to see if you can get some tingles in your head or in your fingers and actually smile and see if you can find some lightness in your body. That means you've achieved a high level of the power of visualization, which is the most important skill. The second one is radical honesty. Where are you at right now for real? Cut the shit with yourself because there's so much shit in your life. You deserve to tell yourself the truth and you need to if you like to actually make permanent change. Both of those things are totally masterable. And you might find that you've actually got them both down right now. You just haven't been practicing. Do both of them every single day. Set an alarm on your phone for 5 minutes and just call it the visualization honesty alarm. And every time it comes up, just ask yourself those 2 questions. What can I visualize right now? What would it feel like? What will it feel like when I get there? Second thing is, what is the truth of what's going on right now today for me in my life? And I promise to God on everything that I believe in from the deepest depths of my soul that if you do those 2 things, you will see sustainable progress over time because you will develop self-belief and self-trust, which are the most important things that you need to put obesity behind you forever. If you made it to the end of this episode, sustainable weight loss is possible and you deserve it and you can do it. I wish somebody just said, you can actually put the issue behind you. I know that things are really hard right now, but things will not be like this forever. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You'll be taking care of yourself forever. Your health journey will never end, but your weight loss journey will end one day. This will not be an issue forever. If you'd like for me to guide you on the journey to putting obesity behind you through what I call the common sense diet system, I'd be happy to talk to you about what that looks like. You can click the link in the description of this podcast episode and we'll talk about it. together. See y'all next week.